We begin with developments out of the Middle East. The Israeli military has released its investigation into Monday's airstrike that killed 7 aid workers, including a Canadian. It concluded the IDF attack followed a string of errors, including mistaken identity. But the aid group targeted by the attack says Israel cannot credibly investigate its own failures. In a statement, it says, without systemic change, there will be more military failures, more apologies, and more grieving families. We demand the creation of an independent commission to investigate the killings of our World Central Kitchen colleagues. Video shows at least one of the vehicles hit in the airstrike was clearly marked as belonging to the charity. The investigation, carried out by a retired Israeli general, found there had been, quote, a serious violation of commands and should not have happened. 5 members of the Israeli military have now either been fired or reprimanded. Journalist Alex Kadier is in Tel Aviv. He has more on this new Israeli report about what it says went wrong.
Well, it really paints a picture of a profound tragedy, Abby. They say a series of mistakes led up to the moment where those 3 cars were separately targeted by a missile fired from a drone. They say those mistakes include communication breakdowns, misidentification of targets, and breaching of protocol. Miscommunication or communication breakdowns because we know the World Central Kitchen had informed the Israeli Defense Forces of their movements and were traveling on a route approved by the IDF. But crucially, the vital and deadly piece of the puzzle is that that information was not transferred to the commanders on the ground. So those operating that drone were not aware that that was the World Central Kitchen information had been transferred. The other of misidentification of targets, the IDF says that they had seen an armed man in the convoy on a separate truck earlier in that journey, and that the team that fired upon these 3 cars did not try to verify whether or not the armed man was still in those 3 cars. Even after hitting the first car and seeing that no armed man was present, they went on to fire on 2 separate vehicles. That is what they call a breach of protocol. Apologies from the Israeli Defense Forces, but we know World Central Kitchen says that's not enough. We want a full independent inquiry. Poland, because a Polish national was killed, also calling for a criminal investigation.
Alex, following a phone call between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu, there was an Israeli announcement about opening up more aid routes into Gaza. What more do you know about when exactly those aid routes will be open?
Well, we don't know exactly when, and that will be one of the big questions. And it's the U.S. reaction we've seen to that announcement shows that actually it's not just about announcing these things. They want to see results on the ground. We know the Israelis have said they will reopen the Erez checkpoint. That's in the north of the Gaza Strip, about an hour's drive south of where I am. And they will also be opening the port of Ashdod, which is about 40 kilometers north of Gaza, to allow humanitarian supplies to be shipped through that port. They also say the Kerem Shalom checkpoint in the south of Gaza will be open for more aid traveling from Jordan. So clearly the Israelis saying they're going to ramp up aid, but crucially the Americans, their closest and largest ally, saying they want to see the exact detail of what that looks like, and that's what we heard from Secretary of State Antony Blinken earlier today.
The measures that we're looking to include things like the number of trucks that are actually getting in on a sustained basis, and not just getting in, but then getting around, the aid being distributed throughout Gaza, including, critically, northern Gaza. Some of the measurements that we've been deeply concerned by, including the fact that almost 100% of the population is acutely food insecure, that they're indicators of potential famine. We'll be looking closely at those to see that they're reversed.
So clearly that is a message sent by Antony Blinken that they want to see results from their Israeli counterparts. We'll have to wait and see in the next few days, but clearly the humanitarian situation in Gaza is so urgent and the starving people there don't have much time to wait.